I have a question to start for Sulphur Springs, actually. And the question is whether or not you have received any syllabi over there yet.
No, we don't have any papers over here.
Okay, I sent them yesterday, but it could be that the length of time it takes. I think the way the mail runs, now that I think about it, is actually it runs first to Paris, then it goes to Sulphur Springs, then back to Greenville. So it could be that yesterday they came and picked up the mail, took it to Paris yesterday, and then today it's going to go back to Sulphur Springs, but I don't know exactly what time it arrives. I always thought it arrived in the morning, but I thought there was at least a possibility it might not. If that's the case, the syllabus is available fully on Blackboard, and actually what I think is the superior version, the color-coded version, on the main page of our class. And I'm probably going to pull it up. And when I say probably, I literally am going to do that in just a few moments. I don't know why I said probably. But I'm going to connect my laptop to this whole setup. So you're going to stop seeing us here in just a couple, like a minute or two, once I get it connected. And you'll start seeing my computer screen. And then I'll ask you like how big you need me to make it so that you can see it the best way possible. And then we'll go through the syllabus and talk about the requirements for the class and that kind of thing. It very well may be that those syllabi arrive while you're in class and they bring them down to you, or afterwards you go and check at the front and see if they have got them yet. But they should at least be. I can't imagine they would take any longer than this class to get there, because I sent them like yesterday morning. Like, you know, I would think that Monday at 8:30 they would be able to make their way to Sulphur Springs at by like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I mean, it's a maybe that's wishful thinking. I don't know. We'll see. But syllabi are on their way, if they're not already there somewhere. I wonder though if it, yeah, probably just after class go check in and be sure. I think is probably what to do. Go down to the main, you know, that weird way that it works, the office area up at the front where like it's not really the front, it's like the side, but it's the main office. Let's see. So this class has an email list that I'll start passing around. I'll write down your personal email that I can reach you at. Sulphur Springs, there's also one in the envelope that I sent to you guys, but it's just not there yet. But since you'll be filling out an info sheet later, I probably will still get your email address in some fashion, so that won't be too problematic. But here I'll pass it out. You'll print your name in legibly as possible and your email address as legibly as possible. And this is an email that's meant to be that I can reach you at that's not your Dragon mail, because some people don't have as easily, it's not as easy to access, like contact you through Dragon mail as it is through like your regular mail. So, hey, what now? Yeah, because it's usually linked to your phone, and people don't link their Dragon mails to their phone because whatever reason. So I'll start it over here, and it'll make its way back around to me. And then I think because the very next thing I do, well, actually, let me check my list of things to do. Check roll, got it. Pass out email list, did it. Oh, I should also mention I said that I was recording the class. Did I?
Yes.
Okay. I've said it so many times today, I can't remember exactly where I've said this thing. So I record every class on, it's going to be like my laptop camera right in front of me is facing me, so it only records this direction. The audio records from the whole room, though, so anybody in the room, anybody on the speaker that's talking from Sulphur Springs, your audio would be recorded on the video, and I'll be editing videos on like Friday, Saturday of each week, and they'll generally be uploaded on Sunday. Because I only have one Brit Lit class, this will always be the video that gets uploaded, as crazy as it might end up being. So if we're very, very off topic, which can happen when people really don't want to talk about Beowulf, even though we're supposed to talk about Beowulf.
To be fair, in the other classes, sometimes it's your fault when we go off topic.
But for the most part, it's yours.
For the most part, it's our fault.
Because y'all see one little tiny opening like a crack, and while Stacy, while Stacy is totally willing to talk about the literature, if I sometimes will give certain people like a little crack of knowledge, like I say, oh, it's like this meme I saw the other day. Somebody goes, I know memes, I saw memes, listen to this meme. And then it's just nothing but memes for the next 10 minutes while I'm trying to steer everybody back to... it's really funny. I think over the course of like from the time school let out till the time we've started back up, Old Town Road became a thing and became lame, which I thought was kind of fascinating. It's like literally, but I literally never had time to talk about Old Town Road before it became lame. Like, how is that?
You're the one who made me listen to that, and I listened to it twice. I'm like, I can't. This is not for me.
Really? I still love it.
I think it's alright.
I don't merely like or dislike things because of their popularity at a given time.
Oh, I don't mind. I don't care.
I think people are hypocrites who are like that. Everybody, you feel me?
No.
You judging your own hypocrisy right now? Yeah, okay. You should be. By the way, Old Town Road will make another appearance when I'm talking about emails. So I'm going to go now to hook up the computer. I really apologize about, I'm just to protect myself. Well, I mean, if I'm hooking up the computer, y'all aren't really going to see me again for a couple minutes. You'll hear me. So it doesn't matter if I take the camera and do this so as to avoid the camera pointing directly at my butt while I hook this up. I just really don't want that to happen.
Either they're laughing really hard or there's nothing happening.
You can usually see like their shoulders move.
Yeah.
TJ, if you're going to talk about them, talk louder so they can hear what you're saying.
Are you guys laughing?
No.
Fair enough.
Just sounded like she didn't want to say it too. Like, should I lie and say yes?
No, I always prefer honesty. When people aren't honest, it's like it's hard to like make changes because people are like, "Oh, I'm trying to protect that person's feelings," but like I don't like that. Okay, so I've got this. So I'm hooked up to the projector now, and I think all I have to do is push the presentation button, set it up to PC, and then also main video, set that up to PC. Tell me now, in Silver Springs, do you see the view of my computer?
We can see it, but we can't read it. It's like really blurry.
Okay. So I'm curious if it gets, is it readable now?
Not really.
Really? Do you have your phones with you?
Yes.
Okay. It might be good to, like, as I'm talking about it, to maybe pull it up. To pull it up on your phones, so you've got it while I'm talking about it. Because, I mean, if we've got, let me see, I can do, there we go. Well, I just kind of want to have that not be there. How do I do that? So, if you pull the syllabus up on your phone, because the paper copy apparently hasn't arrived yet. Why does it keep doing that? I always forget. Keeps going back. And we'll see if that stays. So, if you pull it up on your phones, you can actually see the color-coded version of the syllabus that I'll be going through, and that's probably going to be the best thing to do anyway, because the paper copy is black and white, and I don't think it's as ideal. But this is only one day we're using the computer. We're not going to be using it after this, really. It's just so I can go over the syllabus, and then days after this, we won't be doing this. Well, actually, maybe when I assign this, the first essay, I'll do it, but we'll see how we feel about this one day. Because I tend not to try to use the computer too much or the projector too much in Silver Springs if it's really blurry. Some projectors in the building aren't that blurry, and some are, and it sounds like you've got one of the blurry ones, which is unfortunate. So let's see. Now, I'm going to go over here to Blackboard, and I've opened an incognito window and done it in incognito so that I can show you under my fake student, even though I'm logged in as my teacher account on the other one. But yeah, we're English 2322 440. And since I don't have to explain to you, because you've all been in college for like 2 years, what a syllabus is, I'll just go straight to the syllabus. Actually, I guess there are some people who might be in here who are still like seniors in high school, or you just graduated high school where you already took English 1301 and 1302, and now you're taking this. Yeah, sure. But for the most part, I think people have used. Is there anybody who has not used Blackboard before at all? Okay, so everybody's used it in some fashion. That's good. So Silver Springs, can you see that at all? If I make it bigger, like this big, can you see it, or is it still super blurry and you can't read it?
The bigger it gets, the better it is. So it's easier to read now.
Okay, so there are words that can be read now, because this I think is as big as I can go before it starts, like the sides start getting chopped off. So I'm going to leave it this size while we look at it. It'll make the video kind of funny, but it'll still work. So one of the reasons I say that I'm going to pass out the paper copy of the syllabus to you guys here, so we can start talking about it. So 2 over there, 3 over here, and 2 on the right side of the table. And I've got extra copies that I would hand to Silver Springs, but I sent it in the mail. Well, it's like I've said before in other classes. I'm a person who likes to be. What?
You're not worried about the environment.
I mean, they've already bought the paper. It's not like somebody's going and.
I mean, he's got a point though. Like,
Like-
it's gone. Like,
If we have the paper, I'm gonna print it. It's not. I mean, it's the only paper that I print for the whole semester, and every book that we have too
I'm
is.
always thankful for it. I'm just making.
We gotta give you a hard time.
I see how it is.
See you all summer.
We missed you.
Other people saw me all summer. I missed me too. So the reason I have such a large syllabus is because I'm a pretty prepared person. I like to be prepared, and so because of that, I figure other students might like to be prepared, and so I provide as much information as possible to you. Other teachers might do like 1 or 2 pages or like 3 or 4 pages, but I don't feel like that communicates enough. I feel like as much as I can tell you about how this class works in the very beginning without springing things on you like, oh, write an essay over this like 5 minutes before the end of class. Like I just don't feel comfortable doing that. So I tell you as much as I can from the beginning. The digital copy as well, one of the reasons it looks like this, where it's got this index page, is I kind of realized that a lot of students who were telling me that when I would go back to them and I'd ask them, hey, why did you stop coming to class? They said, well, I didn't really know like what your policy was on like, late work, and I was already behind, so I didn't know. And I said, well, I mean, it was in the syllabus. And they're like, yeah, but it was just so much to look through. I didn't know what. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. And so I created an index page for it. And then I thought most people these days who look up information are used to looking it up on Google and phones and stuff. So I made it where I thought, why not make the syllabus where it's clickable, since I know how to do that kind of stuff. And so I made it where, I mean, yeah, sure, you can, like, if you want to know my food policy, you can search for the word food in the document using Control F and it'll go straight to it, but not everybody knows that trick, and so it's nice to, you see something you want to go to and you can just click it. I want to look at your grading policy, and then boom, there you are. And that works the best, I think, on the PDF version. The Microsoft Word is weird when you're trying to click links, so it's just best to do it I should not have picked the grading policy to go to immediately, because now y'all are like looking at the grading policy as quickly as you can before I switch back. You're like, oh, quick, how's he grades? So you can see this class happens in 217 here on the Greenville campus and 107 on the Silver Springs campus. Is that the room that y'all are in the Silver Springs campus? Is room 107? That's what I was told it was changed to. It used to be 106.
Yes, it's 107.
Okay. I wonder if that's why you have the blurry projector. You may notice.
They're all pretty blurry.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I guess we do what we can with that too. And this is maybe something I should put a marker for, but I've always found this a little strange. Back to it. You'll see some color coding throughout the syllabus. The color coding that really matters, as it says here down below, is when you get to the course calendar. That's really relevant color coding. It's not in your paper copy. You're going to see black and white throughout. But there's other color coding that's really not that relevant to you. Navy blue is something I have that just for myself to show where I've had to use specific wording that the institution uses for certain things. The achievements section, I have color coding that doesn't really matter, but it has a reason for being the way that it is.
Just for using the stones.
Yeah. And then the red font that I have throughout the syllabus, it really doesn't mean anything other than I've highlighted it so that, like, let's say that I change the readings from semester to semester. I change the way essays work. In fact, I've changed the entire title of one of the essays and the way I talk about it in the description from 1302 and from Brit Lit last semester. Like if those of you who've taken my class before, you're used to writing synthesis analysis essays and critical evaluations. Now you're going to be writing evaluation synthesis and critical analysis, which is the same essay, just described better and named better. Because I feel like it wasn't properly communicating through the title exactly what it was. So I decided to switch things around. But I made those changes, and here's something I realized over the years. If you forget to change the red, like the stuff that I have highlighted in red font throughout the syllabus, everybody assumes you're lazy. So if I forget to change spring 2019 to fall 2019, everybody goes, wow, this guy's so lazy, he just copied his old syllabus and just printed it again. What a lazy fart. But I'm not really, like, I put a lot of work into it. It's just sometimes I forget the obvious things. So that's, the red highlight doesn't really mean anything for you. It's just really kind of for me. Anything that's bright blue is something you can click. So I'll click to the teacher contact and textbook materials, which is the first thing I'll go over, and every teacher has to go over this kind of stuff. But I'm Mr. Nichols. If you haven't met me before, this is me. I noticed that all the people who don't know me are sitting the furthest away from me. Or I mean, like, not at the table. Like, I don't know you guys. And you're like, oh, we don't want to sit at the table with them. It's too scary. And then Silver Springs, y'all are sitting really far away. So I don't really understand why you chose to sit so far away from me. But I respect the decision.
We get it.
Email address you can contact me at cnichols@parisjc.edu. That is the preferred form of communication with me. It's the best form of communication with me. I have an office phone down in Greenville campus here, room 210. They make me put that on there. If I had the option not to include it, I would. Or I wouldn't. Whatever the proper way to say that is. But email, it's a way to have documented communication. So if you ask me a question, there's documentation that you've asked it. Now wait a second. See, I told you, this is the times when I look like an idiot. See at the top here? Silver Springs Campus 107. I forgot to change it on the second page. The second page, teacher contact materials, I left it as 106. Moron. So I've got to change that up. Oh well. I guess I assumed that I already changed it when I saw it on the first page. It's changed. Anyways. If you talk to me after class and you tell me something like, hey, Nichols, I have to be absent next time because I have a dentist appointment or something. I'll always say, oh, that's great. Thanks for letting me know. Please email me that. Because if you don't email me, I'll remember that we had a conversation, but not what it was about. I tend to be very bad at remembering spoken conversations. This is the way I am. Weirdly enough, if I watch a movie, I tend to be able to quote lines over and over again, even if I've only seen a movie once. I don't understand why that works that way, but it does. Maybe because of the high visual element and the editing. I don't really know. It's somehow tied together. But conversations I'm very bad with. So it's even worse on the phone because there's no visual element to tie it to. I have to sit with a notepad and write down everything you're saying so that later I can remember to respond to it on email. So it's really just best to email me no matter what. That way you get things done the way that they should be done. Additionally, the schedule down here below has all the times that I'm anywhere so that you know whether or not if you send me an email, I'll be able to get back with you. So Monday, Wednesdays, you can see I have a 9:30 and 11 o'clock class. Then I have office hours from 12:15 to 3, and on Wednesday I even go to 4. But on Tuesday, Thursday I have an 8, a 9:30, and 11, and then 45 minutes to breathe, and then come over to you guys in a different room at 1 o'clock. And so that adds time too to get the computer over here and set it in front of me and the papers and stuff. So I probably won't be able to, and I leave at like 3 afterwards. So it's not going to be a whole lot of extra time on Tuesdays and Thursdays to meet with students. So like it's easier to catch me through email on Mondays and Wednesdays. And that also might mean that later in the syllabus I'll talk about how I generally respond to emails between 24 hours. But like say if you email me at 8:30 on a Tuesday, the main time I have set aside for answering emails is Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays. In the afternoons because that's when I have fairly open. So you might email me on a Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. so I might not be emailing you back till around 3 on like a Wednesday. It sometimes happens that way. Just so you don't like panic. Let me see. I'll also have office hours on Friday if you ever wanted to meet with me because you're really having trouble understanding something. You just need to sit down and like, can you explain this? I can do that. And while it does show my office hours happen in room 210, I generally stay in my classroom because when you go down to the main office with all the other teachers, people like to talk, and I'm very bad at breaking away from conversations. I feel rude. So you'll note that anytime that people stay after class in this class, I'll just talk to them forever. While inside I'm screaming, let me go, but I can't say that out loud to you guys because I respect you as people. I'm just kidding. That's not how I am. For some reason, it's different with students. It's like I feel like this is y'all are the job. Like y'all are like who I'm trying to make your lives better. Other teachers, I'm just working alongside them. Like I don't know. It's just different. I can't explain how it is. But the required text for the class, I don't know. I think the bookstore told me that they still require the hacker manual, like the little spiral pocket manual. I mean, it's not required for this class if you don't have it anymore, if you've already sold it back. I think it's a great resource to keep your entire college career. So if you sold the pocket manual back, leave it sold back. But if you still have it, that's great. No need to go buy it again unless you really feel the need to, because it's going to be great to have for all your research projects throughout your college career. The Norton Anthology of English Literature book, it's real big. It's got lots of footnotes in it, and honestly, the best editions of all the readings are in that book. However, I will point you to over here. King Lear as well as I mean, really any copy of King Lear would work. I have this copy, and y'all can't see it in. In fact, I probably could show you in Sulphur Springs what I have. But let's see. We go to Amazon. Oh yeah, I forgot my book wish list pops up automatically. My bad. King Lear Folger Shakespeare Library Edition. Did it not? Why does it show me Kindle? Yeah, this is the one I have. Actually, I saw another one down below. It looked like I actually have it. Library binding? No. Yeah, I think that they might sell one down in the bookstore or not. I don't really know. You don't technically have to have this. Oh, you know how you can sometimes look, see that tiny purple box in the corner of Sulphur Springs? That says King Lear on it. But recently students have found out that, let me see, SparkNotes, King Lear. While I prefer the Folger edition, where if you go to, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me see. What is No Fear King Lear? Do they still have that? No Fear King Lear. Yeah, they now provide No Fear King Lear for free on SparkNotes.com. No Fear Shakespeare used to be these print editions you could only get by purchasing, but now they include that on SparkNotes.com. So it'll actually say, like, for example, when we go to read King Lear, it did always seem so to us, but now in the division of the kingdom it appears not which of the dukes he values most, for equalities are so weighed that curiosity and neither can make choice of either's moiety. And you're like, what? And then over here it says, well, we used to think so too, but the way he's divided the kingdom recently, nobody can tell which of the dukes he does favor more. He split the kingdom so evenly that it's impossible to see any indication of favoritism. So that communicates that a little bit more clearly. So I don't prefer to have these editions where it's plain English alongside the Shakespearean. I prefer if it's got notes to the side to explain difficult concepts, which is what my Folger copy has. But I know that a lot of students are just looking for like the easiest way to get the understanding of it quickly. Although it's kind of like reading a Reader's Digest version of a book. Like, that's nice. And see, that's the Folger edition that you have in front of you. What is this?
Free.
AT&T? I don't know.
Free on PDF.
And is that the Folger Library Edition?
I don't know.
Oh.
You just searched free King Lear, free PDF.
Well, I mean, you can go to Shakespeare Folger. I mean, Shakespeare's one of those things that...
FolgerDigitalText.com. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And that's the best version, of course, which that's the actual copy of Shakespeare's King Lear. The problem is it won't have any notes whatsoever. It's just going to be the text of King Lear, and that's going to be a little hard for some people to understand because, you know, it's just going to just be the text, the original text. So that might cause people a little bit of difficulty. But that's the only text that's not in our textbook is King Lear, but you can find it online like you've seen. This though, wait, close that. I have over here on the left tab on Blackboard, so I mean, those who are in Silver Springs, if it's not popping up very non-blurry, the second item down underneath syllabus says reading assistance. And I'll make this bigger, maybe we can see it. But because I realize some people are trying to have their financial aid come in, you're trying to get a copy of your book, you might need some copies of these things online that you could read. And so I have the reading assistance for the first couple of weeks. For week 1 and 2, I have Beowulf. The exact same translation from our textbook is available, the Seamus Haney, in this file. However, the Sir Gawain and the Green Knight that we're reading in week 2, or really week 3, the one in the book is far preferable to this one. To me. Yeah.
Do we need to read these versions, or as long as we have an idea of the story, is that okay?
I mean, if
back
you
in high school, I read them, but
yeah.
if I need to know this version, then I'll read them.
Oh, I mean, if the versions, if you're talking about versions, as long as you've made it through the entire thing, you're going to have the same story as anybody who reads any translation. Okay. The translation will never change the plot elements or anything. It just might not be as enjoyable to read or have as much true like poetry to it. Like if I find Sir Gawain here and just look at the very beginning of it versus the one that we have here in the text. What is that? Is it an audio file? Let's see. So if I just look just at like the first stanza of this on line, oh my gosh, fine, whatever, I don't care. Good Lord, go away. I hate ads, man. And I find Sir Gawain here in the book. And I find the first stanza of it. This last little bit, like it says, where war, wreck, and wonder betimes have worked within, and oft both bliss and blunder have held sway swiftly since. Those are actually kind of hard to say. This one says, and wonder, dread, and war have lingered in that land where loss and love in turn have held the upper hand. That one flows off the tongue a lot better. It doesn't seem so forced, and it reads better as someone who has skill with language, as opposed to somebody who was just looked like trying to force as much alliteration as they could, regardless of whether or not it sounded nice. And I really don't like that. Additionally, as it was said and spoken in stories staunch and strong, with linked letters loaded, as in this land so long. That's very hard to say. And it says, and as it has been inked in stories bold and strong, where loyal letters linked have lasted loud and long. And it says linked letters loaded here versus loyal's letters linked in this version. I think loyal letters linked sounds better and it's easier to say. Linked letters loaded it's cacophonous. It's just not written as well. And if you read more and more of it, you would see the differences are pretty astounding. Well, I mean, you may not care. You'd be like, it sounds the same to me. But the stories are the same, basically. So, reading assistance wise, though, that's the only one that's really problematic. Why is that so yellow? Oh, in case I want to ever include it again, you're not supposed to read it. But Chaucer's the general, like Canterbury Tales, the general prologue, the Wife of Bath's prologue and tale, Pardoner's prologue and tale, and Nun's Priest tale that we're all going to read in weeks, I think 4 and 5, maybe 3 and 4. Those are probably actually going to be ideal for you to read, not in the textbook, but on here, because in the textbook it only has it in the original text. The original text is Sorry, if I make it any bigger, it's not going to show it all, so sorry, Silver Springs. But the original text is Wandet apro with a shower suit and dracht of marsheth persa to the root and batet every vein in such liquor. Like, that means nothing. So you kind of have to have the plain English lines that appear just beneath in the Harvard interlinear translation. So you see, when April with its sweet-smelling showers has pierced the drought of March to the root, and bathed every vein of the plants in such liquid. The problem is, I think that it's ideal if you're reading the original lines, and then when you need help trying to go to the plain English, and eventually over time you get kind of used to the, certain things that pop up, like you realize that eek used to mean also, and so your brain just sort of understands that over time as you've been reading it. You kind of get used to it. But you miss some of the meaning if you just read the plain English. So it says, when April with its sweet-smelling showers, and it kind of changes the meaning there a little bit. It says showers sweet. Not necessarily sweet-smelling, it just says showers sweet. So you could almost even think of taste. When you use the word sweet, if you just say sweet-smelling, has a different connotation than sweet taste. Especially when it says drought, I think there's a similar sound to draft, which is a thing you would drink. So with sweet and drink, it almost seems like a sweet liquid that you would drink. And if you go down next, it says bathed every vein in such liquor. And they say that's liquid, but liquor has the connotations of liquor. So it's a sweet shower, and there's a draft and liquor. It's using language that's supposed to make you think of like liquor is, it's the reason that liquor is called spirits. Like you just say wine and spirits, so it means like wine and liquor. Because if anybody's ever, if you're old enough to have already drank before, the first time you ever say like do a shot of something, a lot of people will cough. There aren't a lot of liquids that will make you cough, but the reason it makes you cough is because alcohol evaporates at room temperature much faster than, say, water. So when you drink it, it's evaporating in your throat as the surface area expands and the temperature goes up quicker than water that you're used to drinking doesn't evaporate. So you drink it in and it's evaporating really quickly as you're drinking it, so you breathe in afterwards and there's a whole bunch of alcohol vapor in your throat and you start coughing. And that's one of the reasons they call it spirits, is it's a liquid that seems to be alive because it evaporates as you drink it. So that it seems like infects you and in a weird way, and it changes the way you act, and walk and things. It feels like you're being infected by another spirit. So to have the sweet showers, the draft, the liquor, it's supposed to make you think of like the infectious nature of spring and how it sort of invades us and it's magical. But if you say, oh, sweet smelling showers, the drought, liquid, it just literally gets to its scientific meaning and gets rid of all symbolic and imagistic meaning. And it's terrible. Like all that you miss by just reading the plain English. But I understand probably many of you will try for a second and then just go, oh, this plain English is so much easier. Nichols cares, I don't. So those are going to be essential for you, I think, when you're doing Chaucer. And then that's basically all the reading assistance I have. I mean, I have like links to Folger's library stuff, the sonnets, and the King Lear. So I really take you actually through quite a bit of the course, like almost halfway. After that, though, you just have to have the textbook. I mean, you can find stuff online, but I don't know. Let's see. Next is there any questions about that? Okay.
Let's see the purple book. I want to look at the picture.
Oh, purple book, yes. And really, I think any book, and the way this is laid out that I prefer, on the right side in my Shakespeare edition, it has the regular Shakespeare, but on the left has notes that point to footnote sections or lines. So if you I don't understand this, you look over here to see if there's a note about it. That's why I prefer this, because it kind of forces you to think more instead of just telling you exactly what it is. So yes, you can take a picture of that. Now you might not find that exact edition at say like a half price books or something, but find something close. Now with handouts, anytime I give you all a handout like your syllabus or something, keep that. Have a blue or black ink pen in case you need it for class. You are required to have access to a computer. All of our work is going to be turned into the computer, so it's good to have access to that. I prefer Microsoft Word because of its versatility for creating papers that need to look like they should. But you can do them on Google Docs as well. I know a lot of high schools now do Google Classroom. So Google Docs is kind of like the standard. There are, of course, limitations. Like it's not as versatile, and you have to be online to use it. I think somebody told me like you can use it offline. Google Docs sometimes, but it's not. You have to have it set up.
It won't save the material, like upload it to like the cloud when it's online.
Ah, gotcha. So it'll save locally, but then you'll have to make sure okay, which is risky. Let's see. Purpose of the class, and of course we have the core purposes. The core objectives for this class are essentially the same across English classes, but I think it's important to look basically at the core ones. We have English, specific program level stuff like looking at literature throughout time, and I think like the obvious stuff, but like how is this going to apply to your life past this? I think that specifically when you're trying to read the original text, it really does stretch your critical thinking skills. Like you have to think pretty creatively sometimes to understand what a word means if you've got like no notes beside you, even with notes. Kind of teaches you to be innovative, develop a sense of inquiry, which is really important these days because of the proliferation of fake news and social media bots that give us news stories that are generated by computers to make us think a certain way. And I mean that on both sides of the political aisle, not just one. We need to have evidence-based inquiry where we don't just look at a title and think that's the whole story. We look at the article, we then investigate the evidence, and having literature that helps us do that. Need to be able to analyze, evaluate, synthesize information with the real world. So all of that stuff is, I think, going to be relevant to you throughout your time in life, not just to jobs, but to your life as well. Like, because eventually we're going to have to vote and be good voters and be good citizens. Good elements of the social machine. It's a weird way of saying citizens. Elements of the social machine. Sounds like a paper written by a philosopher. Elements of the Social Machine by Roland Barthes. Is he a philosopher? Bertrand Russell. There's a better one.
Sounds like a manifesto.
It does. It really does. Elements of the Social Machine by Karl Marx. There you go. Communication skills, too, will be useful forever. It's important that we be able to communicate, especially, I think, and granted, Gen Z will always be able to communicate with Gen Z, but communicating upward is going to be probably difficult because I'm sure you've noticed how frustrating it is sometimes to communicate with your parents. You try to text them, and it takes them forever to text back. And when they text back, they're like, "You've told me nothing. I don't understand what you're saying." And you have to lay everything out detail by detail, or they don't get anything. That's just the nature of communication. You have to meet the other person where they're at and what they'll get to be able to communicate the most effectively. That's why it's just best to communicate everything all the time as detailed as possible. But this type of communication that we're seeing here, we're looking at people who are communicating through time, which is actually, I think, pretty fascinating. Most people usually don't, but I do. So we're having to figure out, what is Chaucer saying, even though it's not in the English that we know today. And communication can be important in any area of life you go into. Teamwork as well, like when we do a peer review near the end of the semester where it's over the research paper, and we do a peer review on that. You're going to have to work with other people no matter what you do in life. In society, like if you have a job, even if you become an artist who lives in the woods, you're like, I just sell my art and live in the woods and that's my life. That's your goal, right? Who are you going to sell the art to? Like if you're a jerk, nobody's going to want to buy your art. I almost said something. Demonstrate personal responsibility. I also think social responsibility is very important. So include the ability to connect choices, action, and consequences to ethical decision making, not just in the way that it affects ourselves, but in the way that it affects others. So I think literature helps us not just be personally responsible and look at our own selves, but also to be socially responsible and look at other people in the world and what is the world like, and that's what literature sort of teaches us. So that's kind of the reason that you're in this class, really, and to learn about British literature specifically. But the grading policy, it breaks down numbers-wise better than any class I've ever had. So there are discussion posts which are worth 10% of your grade, quizzes, which are worth 10%, daily grades, which is in-class discussion participation, that's worth 10%. 2 what are called evaluation synthesis essays that are fairly easy, and I'll talk about more next class. Those are worth 10%. There's a midterm exam worth 10%. To Scantron, and I let you have we do a review, so it's not too hard. A critical analysis essay, which I improperly abbreviated to a CE. I meant to abbreviate it to CA, but we'll just say that stands for critical essay, and it gets us, we're fine. The research papers were 20%, and planning, proposal, and research presentation that go along with it is worth 10. So really the research is worth 30. And then the final exam is also worth 10%. Unlike other classes I have before, you can't be exempt from the final, but there is a way to not have to take it. It's just not in the formal way of exemption like it was before. So those who've had me before, there's a way, it's just different. So
didn't you say your finals are super hard and ridiculously stupid?
The handwritten ones are. This is not a handwritten.
Oh, okay.
There's far less to worry about here. Right? Yeah. No handwritten. Handwritten files. It's just Scantron based, and you get to bring a review that you've filled out as much as you want, and the textbook. So it's not even that hard. So I break it down to a point system. Oh, by the way, this is a note you should be aware of when you write about Sir Gawain. Any essays stating that the Pearl poet was the author of Sir Gawain will automatically receive a 0 and need to be revised. Somebody will do it. When I get my essays on Sir Gawain, somebody will say, the Pearl poet who wrote Sir Gawain. And that tells me, hello, person who went to Wikipedia. This is immediately what that says. Because they still don't know who the author of Sir Gawain was, and they generally say the author of Sir Gawain, the author of the Pearl. But for whatever reason, Wikipedia says the Pearl poet every time it's talking about Sir Gawain. I just don't want y'all to say that, because it'll basically be communicating to me immediately that I probably didn't read this, I just went to Wikipedia. Assignments all need to follow basically MLA style. Our evaluation synthesis essays are in first person. All the rest are written in third person. Have to submit everything on Blackboard. Academic honesty. Don't cheat off other people. Don't let them cheat off you. Don't let other people write your papers. Don't plagiarize. Don't submit papers you've already submitted in another course. Or if you're retaking this course, don't submit the same work you submitted another time you took it. It's got to be original work to this course. And that's about it there. Just be honest. Attendance. Come to class. That's about it. It's tied to achievements. If you don't come to class, if you miss for class, and I'm pretty flexible. If you tell me why you're missing, I'll be understanding. So there's nothing to worry about there. Aaron's fascinated by a rainbow outside. Withdrawals. If you need to withdraw from the class, we don't withdraw you. If you stop coming, you get an F. So if you need to withdraw, you have until November 14th to drop the course with a W instead of some other type of grade that's more consequential. So you must initiate those withdrawals yourself in a timely manner. Email response, I already kind of talked about when I email back. Any technical difficulties you have, it has this information here, but I really think you could just email helpdesk@parishjc.edu if you have IT problems with MyPJC or Blackboard or the main website or library databases. They should be able to help with those sorts of things. Oh, and by the way, there's no labs in this class. I don't know if y'all noticed. There's no Launchpad labs or anything like that. It's just, yeah, because they don't have anything like that tied to this course. Those who have taken 1301, 1302 before and required to do it. So it's a trade-off. Yes, you have a final, but you don't. What now? Still the discussion posts. Those are very valuable. Very valuable.
I don't know. Some of the people.
If I wait till you all come to class.
Did you ever read mine at all?
Oh yeah, I read everybody's. Yeah. I mean, people sound like they're trying to sound like they know what they're talking about. That's what everybody always does. But
I never really.
I didn't. I was trying to say.
I would say I don't understand it at all. So
let's see. Make sure you have access to a computer. This says this. I mean, this Disruptive behavior, that I probably will drop you from the class for. Like if you disrupt the other students, you're making them uncomfortable in any way, or like you're distracting them. Like it's fine. Y'all got your syllabus pulled up, but like I don't want to have somebody like watching YouTube, because then somebody else in the background. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Not watch YouTube? It's playing. It's like my daughter. If like the Coco Melon like baby videos are playing on YouTube, she just any TV's on, she's watching it. Disney show. Cell phones the same way. If people are distracting with cell phones, we'll have to kick you out of the class. Same with laptops and tablets. Food and drink, try to just have water with a bottle, with a lid. I know that I don't drink coffee, so this is all I have caffeine to get me throughout the day. So I've got like Dr. Pepper in a koozie with a straw, so I'm an exception to that. Just the main thing is those big Sonic cups. If you drop those, they explode and the drink goes everywhere. With a tiny like thing with like a, something like with a lid, it's like maybe a little drop comes out or something. But those Sonic cups, man, they're awful. Grade posting dates. We do post grades at midterm and finals. The midterm grades are not really consequential. They're just like a progress report. They say where you're at right now. They don't mean anything. They're not going to go on your permanent GPA or anything. But just know that we do that. It's going to be based on all your work prior and the midterm exam. Keep in mind that this class will be at the high school level or above, including both difficulty and maturity. So if you are currently still in high school, just know that you'll be treated as though you're an adult in here. And I think that I have to read the ADA statement word for word, so I'm going to. It's the American Disabilities Act statement. So it is the policy of Paris Junior College to provide reasonable accommodations for qualified individuals who are students with disabilities. This college will adhere to all applicable federal, state, and local laws, regulations, and guidelines with respect to providing reasonable accommodations as required to afford equal educational opportunity. It is the student's responsibility to arrange an appointment with the college success coach in the Advising and Counseling Center to obtain a request for accommodations form. For more information, please refer to the Paris Junior College Catalog or Student Handbook. So, if you've had something in the past, or you have it now, but like you've had accommodations in the past, like in high school, for something like dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, you can receive accommodations here as well, assuming you have documented evidence of any, like from a healthcare professional on whatever condition you might have. Additional things people don't think about as much, maybe like test anxiety, just non-test related anxiety or attention deficit, those sorts of things. Those can be accommodated as well, assuming you have documented evidence that you have those conditions. Just contact those people and they can get that process started. You can get things like extended time assigned, or like when you take tests, you take them in an isolated location so that the less anxiety in those cases for those sorts of people. But just have to talk with them about that. Do you have a question? Yeah.
What would they do for someone with attention deficit? Because I feel like
it's one of the things they can do is separate that person so you're in your own environment. So like, with distractors, somebody who's easily distracted, if somebody taps their pencil on a table, but if just you were in a room by yourself taking that test with a proctor, it's like a lot less likely that I guess you would have something like that happen. So I'm just guessing. I don't make the accommodations, but I'm thinking that could help somebody who had it. Maybe. Definitely not being in a room where somebody's got a TV on. That'd be a nightmare. But we don't do that for our exams, so I don't know why we would say that. Discussion posts I plan to go over more next time. So I guess there actually will be a day where I'm spending some time on Blackboard again. Is going to be next class. But past this week, we just talk about the literature. But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the discussion posts today. But basically, every single reading we have each week, you'll do a discussion post over it, and then you'll reply to 2 other people's discussion posts. So you do an original post that's like 100 words, and you'll do 2 replies. They're like 50 words. I actually have a couple pages further in the syllabus as a sample page that has sample discussion posts. So you can kind of see it's one person talking about a little short story, and then 2 people replying to that person. So those are worth 10% of the class. Now I think there are like maybe 11 or so discussion posts. You actually can get a bonus point in the class if you do them all. Actually, I'm not sure if that's true. It might actually work out where I use the first discussion post. It's the introduction post for your 10th quiz. And we'll have to look and see. Question?
Yeah. So it's for the upcoming week's reading. So is it like we do it the week before for that next week?
Right. So like this coming Sunday, you're all are going to do a discussion post over Beowulf, which we haven't talked about in class yet at all at that point. So you'll talk about it on Blackboard, on discussion posts in the discussion forum, before we've ever had a chance to talk in class. The design behind that is it forces you into reading at least part of it before you come to class. Then in class, you're able to participate in class discussion more readily. And at the end of the week, we have quizzes that are due by Sunday over Beowulf. So you'll never have a discussion post and a quiz due at the same time over the same piece of literature, because the quiz will always cover what we have already talked about in class, and the discussion post will cover what is coming up in class.
So on Sundays we'd have the quiz from the previous week, and then we'd have the discussion post for the next week.
Right. So like this coming Sunday, it's just quiz over the syllabus and discussion post over Beowulf. But the next week, it's quiz over Beowulf and discussion post over Sir Gawain. And it'll always go like that. And once we get like 2 weeks into it, it becomes you get used to it, and you go, okay, that's how this works. I try to make it only like any time, and I have to hit this little blue bar here, but every week in like discussion posts, only the things you're currently able to do will show up. So like you'll only see right now discussion post 0 where you introduce yourself. So this is the only week you'll have to do 2 discussion posts, but you'll introduce yourself, say hi, this is me, and then 1 over Beowulf that probably most people will end up doing. I'm sorry, most people will end up doing this like sometime around Sunday night between like 9 and midnight, because it's due at 11:59 p.m. So sometimes I'll have a class where people are real go-getters and they'll get stuff done on like Saturday, but you still might have to wait till in the evening time on Sunday to reply. It's kind of, I don't know, it's just how it works out sometimes, but maybe you keep a watch on it, you'll be able to get your replies done quickly. But the quizzes are the same way. Only the ones that you can currently do right now will appear. This is the only week where you'll see between Monday and Thursday that a discussion post and a quiz are available. They usually will only ever be available after this class is over, so at 12:30, and they'll remain available until Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. The reason for that is I've had problems in the past with students doing the quizzes over the literature while we're talking about it in class, like literally in the class, they're taking the quiz, or writing the discussion post for the next week while they're in class because they're not listening and they're just trying to get the work done, which makes, I don't know, I don't want to be pissed off at somebody all the time, so it's just one of the reasons I've done that sort of for you. Raises essay grades, I assume, slightly because I'm not naturally pissed at you. But this will be the only week where you'll see these quizzes and discussion posts available between Monday and Thursday. Let me see, go back to assignments too. Like I'll talk about this in a little bit, but only ever the essays that have already popped up will pop up. And the only non-essay assignment that will pop up in the assignments section are the info sheet and the proposal for the research paper called the planning assignment. I'll talk about this info sheet and what to do when we get to the calendar in just a couple minutes, but that's the discussion posts and where they'll be, the quizzes and where they'll be. In-class discussion participation, that's just talking in class. What does that say? Why does it say it's worth 5% of your grade? That's really weird. It's 10%. Follow the grading policy above. I'll probably go and make that change and re-upload it. I don't know why it's different in one place than another. The evaluation synthesis papers I'll be assigning next time. Critical analysis essay, I'll assign that in a few weeks. And I'll have an assignment, like I call it a packet because it's got the instructions and it's got a sample paper and some tips. So it's not really a huge packet like say the syllabus is, but it's got some information. Midterm is going to be Scantron. The research paper peer review is a day when you bring your paper to class. We review it. The research essay tries to relate the themes of the literature to the real world and like what's happening in the real world, so that like we can sort of use the themes of the literature to try to help solve real world problems. Because I don't think that these pieces of literature have persisted throughout time purely because of their language. I think that they have lessons that have lasted, and that's why they tend to stick around.
So those that took your 1302 class, kind of like that research paper?
Yes, it's the same. It is harder though because I don't know. I think Brit Lit is honestly probably easier than the 1302 paper. though it's harder because the literature itself is not contemporary. But English 2323 is actually harder, I think, to write the research paper because it's Brit-Lit 2 and the concerns are more abstract, where these have more story-based literature, so it's a little easier in that regard.
It's based off of maybe a conflict at the time or something, which can be related to.
Yeah, like people always find Wife of Bath really easy to write about, Sir Gawain for the research paper, but we'll talk about that, of course, more when the time comes, because it can become a complicated paper, but once you get it, you're like, oh, I got it. We have to get to that point. Don't shake your head, Stacey. Research presentations, super easy when we get there. Like, you literally just talk for a couple minutes and then you're done. Final exam, like I said, Scantron. And while it is technically worth 10%, so you shouldn't theoretically be able to not have to take the final, there is a way to do it. And I'll talk to you about that in the next section, or a couple of the next sections. So there is a sample discussion post on the next page, which I'll scroll past. Revision, I'll just sum up quickly by saying all of the essays we write you can revise, not for 10 more points or 20 more points, but for the full value of the paper. So if you get a 50 and you don't like that, and you revise it and you get a 75, well, 75 is your new grade. Or if you get a 95, 95 is your new grade. Or if you get the 75, you don't like the 75, after you've done one revision, revise again and you get the 95. So as hard as you're willing to work to keep turning in a paper to get the grades you want, you can get as high a grade as you want. And your new grade will always replace the old grade, unless the new grade is lower, which I won't lower people's grades. I'll only raise them. So if you get a higher essay grade, it'll go higher. If it gets lower, it'll still stay the same. Which rarely happens that somebody gets a lower grade. So something American Dream and achievements. So the achievements, basically I just have these little things you can do that are behaviors that if you have these behaviors, I tend to notice that makes students successful in the class. So I gave you point bonuses for doing them, and I called them achievements because, I don't know, Xbox has achievements and people play Xbox game and they try to get achievements, and if it works for Xbox, why can't it work for us when it's got actual good stuff tied to it? And I basically just named them after the Infinity Stones because I'm a nerd, and maybe people will want to get the Gauntlet. I don't know. So the Space Stone is if you miss no more than 4 classes through week 15, I'll use only your 5 highest quiz grades. So your quiz grade could go up higher, your average quiz grade. The Power Stone is like if you acquire the Space Stone, so you're not absent very much, and you arrive late no more than 4 times a semester, I'll add 10 points to your critical analysis essay. With the Time Stone, if you submit all 4 of your essays on time, with each essay receiving a grade of at least 50 on the first attempt, that's a change I've made. I'll use only your 5 highest discussion post grades. So I had a lot of people who would literally just turn in their name, and then somehow they were getting achievements out of that, and I was like, I find that lame and I don't like it. So you have to submit a completed paper now, but it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to get at least a 50. And if you work on it and you try, you should get at least a 50, even if it's lame. Reality Stones, you'll be able to revise as long as you submit your info sheet, your syllabus contract, which is the last page of the syllabus in front of you, and your syllabus quiz. And even though Sulphur Springs, you don't have the paper syllabus copy in front of you right now, once you get it in front of you, you'll take the last page of that syllabus, maybe it's next time they'll have it or at the front after class. You'll take that last page of the syllabus, sign it after you feel comfortable and after you've read the syllabus, and then they'll send that in an envelope back to me in Greenville, and that'll count as one of your little daily grades. And the syllabus quiz and info sheet are both done on Blackboard. Well, info sheet's actually done on Google, but I'll explain that. Syllabus quiz is just on Blackboard. Mind Stone. So this is weird, but if you earn 890 points in the course by, or if you earn 890 points in the course by week 15, day 2, or 870 points if you also have the Soul Stone achievement, then technically you would already have an A and you wouldn't have to take the final. Because your grade, if you already have 870 points, would round up. And with all the little bonuses you can get with the critical evaluation points or the critical analysis points, the discussion post drops, the nice high essay grades, the midterms that I curve, and the final that, well, final doesn't really matter. But you could have enough points technically where you still might not need the final. You just got to kind of calculate that out. And I'll give you grade conference sheets when we get to that point, so you'll know kind of how close you are to that. So if you attend both grade conferences and you attend the research paper peer review and you have a research paper for reviewing, and there's 2 words I missed here if you wanted to modify this. I'm going to modify it again. I'm going to modify it today on my own and re-upload it. I've already modified it in the file. I just haven't uploaded it yet because I wanted to point out to everybody that it's not here yet on your paper copies. And if you submit a fully completed research paper on time, those are the words that are missing. It's got to be on time. That receives a grade of at least 50 on the first attempt, then I'll round up your final average to the next letter grade if it ends in 7 or 8, not just 9. So I usually will round up an 89 to a 90, but with this achievement I could round an 87 up to a 90 or a 77 up to an 80. Now that becomes really important to those who don't want to have to take the final, because in college, the only thing that really matters is once you hit the A. Once you get a 90, then so if I can round an 87 up to a 90, then really you would only need an 87. And if you've got the other achievement where you get a bonus point, you really only need an 86. And that's super doable by that point, so that you wouldn't have to even, I think the last time I taught the Brit-Lit 1 course, 6 of 7 students were exempt from the final. Not exempt, but they didn't have to take it because of this. So it's definitely possible. But those students were all super responsible. I don't know you people yet. I know some of you people, but not all you people. And by the way, the essay average of an 80, oh wait, that's irrelevant to this course, so I don't have to mention it. So don't pay attention to that. Now, I would suggest signing up for the Dragon alerts that are on the next page, because if we cancel for weather, it'll be sudden. If I cancel classes, it'll be a mass email through Blackboard, so check your Dragon mail. Make sure you have an email that's like a version of your name, so you have it for resumes later. Keep in mind that things that are lame now will be lame later. So like if you have Old Town Road 420 at Gmail, later you're going to have to put that on a resume. And they're going to go, okay, well, maybe we should go with the second candidate because the best candidate has this lame email address. And it shows them to be immature. So have just a simple email that doesn't include something you like unicorns or Ferraris. Though it does kind of suck, I guess, if your name is Ferrari, you're like John Ferrari, and then like people think you're just, oh, John likes Ferraris. So maybe you should try something else like your middle name in that case. QR codes, if you know how to use them. They're throughout the syllabus. Again, email is the best way to contact me. Be specific. With me and future employers, don't say, are we doing anything today? I have work. Where it's all misspelled and not specific and we don't know what you're trying to say. QR codes. And because I've already kind of talked to you about the discussion posts and how they work, how they'll always occur before we've talked about the reading in class, I really just have to tell you the color coding corresponds to this. Purple's always essay assignments or other types of assignments. So I'm assigning the info sheet in a minute, literally 1 minute. The first essay will be assigned next time, but always stop first and do the quiz. So red means stop, do quiz first. You're going to do the quiz over the syllabus. Then I would get started reading on Beowulf. Then over the weekend, do the discussion post over Beowulf. And this doesn't say discussion post 0 and 1, but there is discussion post 0 over it's an intro post. Meant to be like a nice easy grade to get you started. So I guess I'll add that back in there as well. I don't know why it changed, but then the next week we'll talk about the readings in class. Then you'll do the quiz over Beowulf. Then you'll read Sir Gawain, and so on and so forth. We actually have a little bit of a break around midterm time. We don't read anything for like 3 or 4 weeks. You see, there's no discussion posts and really quizzes. But then we go right back into it, and then we're done reading basically everything by week 12, day 2, when the research papers due. And we're just sort of coasting to the end so that you can get all the rest of the things in your other classes done. And if you've been responsible, you won't have anything left to do in this class. And you might even be exempt from the final where you don't have to come. But the only other thing I haven't told you about so far is the syllabus contract, which is the last page of the syllabus, which I'll have you, sign that and turn it in to me today. Silver Springs, of course, you can't. unless they have it down in the office and you feel comfortable enough now to sign it. If not, you can take it with you and read it again. But I'm just pointing out on here that I mentioned that quizzes and discussion posts open at 12:30 on Thursdays, and they stay open through Sunday at 11:59 p.m. And the essays account for about 50% of the grade in the course. And you can't pass the class without completing the essays. It might actually be 40%, but it's still a significant percent. I might go back and change that. I always find little errors I've made when I go back and read this. I read it on my own usually, but I guess it's because I'm not talking about it, I don't notice those things. Still, though, you cannot pass without doing the essays. Once you print the name, sign it, hand it in to me, that'll be the syllabus contract grade. But over here on the assignments page, the info sheet, it's real simple. It just takes a little bit of time. But it's a Google form that you click to. When you click to the Google form, if you're already logged into a Google account, it'll take you to the form. It's my information sheet. You fill it out on its Google form. This is different than you've usually done it. Usually it's different. But I'm always evolving. This actually allows me to see data about the answer choices that you all put. So that's interesting to me. I can see like pie graphs and things. Like,
So, you're such a nerd.
I know,
He made polls for us.
I know.
Come on.
I might actually have a poll next time that I've been thinking about too. So,
You enjoy polls? Yes.
and then it has you submit add a picture file down at the end. It represents you. It's not actually meant to be a picture of you, but if that's what you choose, you can do that. But it's just answer all the questions along the way and fill out the little form boxes. Once you submit it, it'll give you a thanks for submitting page, or if you've already submitted it and you have to go back because you forgot, it might say you've already responded to this. What you'll do is you'll screenshot this page. Like if I do snipping tool, you might have seen that before. I can say new. If you're on a computer, you can just do that and save that file.
Is scheduled to end in 2 minutes.
I know, ITV lady. So what you'll do is you'll take this file, save it, and then you'll upload that to Blackboard. And if you do it on your phone, you can screenshot on your phone. It'll still let you do it on Blackboard. Watch. So if you do this, you hit the title. On here, I can say browse computer and find that picture file of my screenshot. If you're on your phone, it actually does the same thing. If you did the form on your phone, you screenshot on your phone the thank you for submitting page. And then when you click browse my computer, it'll actually say look at my photo library, and you click your photo library, find the screenshot, and upload it that way. And then you hit submit. The reason I do it this way is because while I can see that you've done the form on Google, it doesn't communicate that grade to Blackboard for me. So I have to have some way to have you submit something on Blackboard so that I can then give you a grade for it.
I just save and then print. Like,
Save and print?
I mean, like send it to print, but then save the PDF of the whole version.
And if that's a
and then
version of
upload
you,
it
yeah,
to
you can do that, and I would count that
Yeah.
as well.
Okay.
Um,
Right now. Sorry.
So the information sheet is a thing, and discussion post 0 and 1, and the syllabus quiz, but those are all due by Sunday, not the next class. So those are just the things that are due by Sunday. That's it. Any questions?
So how to get to that again?
Sulphur Springs first, because y'all are gonna maybe get cut out. If y'all have any questions.
I'm going to email you about an absence I have upcoming, but no questions other than that.
Okay, awesome, that's great. So I guess Sulphur Springs, y'all have a great day.
You too.
And then questions here in Greenville,
Your conference is now over.
How do you get
Wow.
and that's why we did that. What was it?
How do you get to that again?
How to get to this? Oh, it's just going to be right here on assignments section. So the blue bar on the side, it's just so. Oh, I can make this smaller now since Sulphur Springs is gone. So it usually will look like this. You'll click the assignments thing on the side.
Okay.
Assignments. Info sheet will be right here, but the Google form link is what you have to click.
Okay.
Click that, then you'll do that screenshot, and then you'll submit it here when you click like a normal essay. Browse my computer, upload it. Other questions? You do not have to read Beowulf before next time. That's before next week.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Where it says a section you are enrolled in with Nichols,
Yeah.
They're both 23, 22.
Right. You guys in Greenville are 440. Sulphur Springs is 540.
Okay.
Can you get that paper? I have to get a load.
Which paper?
That info sheet? Did you say we have to do it on paper?
No, this time you don't have to do one on paper. It's just the one that's here.
Oh, okay.
So there is no paper info sheet anymore. I've decided to just do it this way.